This is Access 2019, Module 2, Part 3. In this section, we will be importing in the structure of a table from another database that already has a similar table in it. Once we bring that table in, we will then modify the setup of the table to make it specific for our needs. And we will not be bringing in the data that's in the other table. With this example, we will simply be bringing in the structure or the setup of the table. So let's get back into our Lakewood database. At this point, we have created two tables. We've got data in both of them. And we have some other objects that are available in our database as well, queries, forms, and reports. So to begin with, we're going to start on our external data tab. Again, this is where all of our imports and exports are done, is on this external data tab. And since we're importing, we're going to start out with a new data source, and we're bringing the table structure in from another Microsoft Access database. So we're going to choose from Database and then Access. It will open up a wizard for us, and we're going to browse and locate where we have these files stored. I have them on my IUPC drive under an IUPUI and videos file or folder. So we're looking for the full file that's called support_AC_2_Taylor. Support AC2 Taylor. We're going to open that. We want to make sure that it says we're importing objects into the current database, not linking to another database. We won't be linking in this class. And then we're going to click OK. Now the first thing you want to do is click on the table name that you are trying to import. I can't tell you how many times I have forgotten to click on that table name and have done everything else I needed to do, and then nothing happens. Because if you don't click on the object for it to import, it will not bring anything in. So we're going to click on patient. We are only bringing in the definition. We do not want any data that could already be in that table to be brought in. So we're only bringing in the definition. Then we go ahead and click OK and close. We already talked about the import steps on our last import, so we don't need to save those. As you can see now, we have a new table that appeared, and when we open up patient, you can see it has fields in it, so it has that structure that was created, but it does not have any data that came along with it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to look at is adding a field for an address. You can see that they do not have address information in here, and if we're going to bill this patient for their services, we do need to have an address. So we're going to click on email. We want the address field to go in the email in front of the email. We'll choose fields as our ribbon tab. And underneath the add and delete group, you'll see this more fields. If you click on that and then scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see this section called Quick Starts. Now the reason we're going to use an address Quick Start is because in order to have an address in a database, we typically have at least 4 to 5 fields. We're going to have a street address, we're going to have a city, a state or a province, if depending on the country that we're dealing with, a zip code, and the country that the address is in if it's an international business. So we're dealing with at least 5 fields. And if I use that Quick Start, you can see it then added all 5 at once. So I did not have to do individually. So let's take a look at some of the ways that we can modify the structure once we have it in here. All right, we're going to click on this country region, and up here in the add and delete group, we are going to choose the delete key because we do not want the country listed as part of the address. So we'll delete that. So this is how you will use the delete on Datasheet View. Let's go ahead and save the changes we've made so far and switch into Design View for the rest of our changes. Now, as I said earlier, I do prefer to do most of my changing in Design View. It makes it a little easier because you see all of the properties in one place. We still have a few fields that we want to delete. So we're going to delete the title. We don't need that. So we're going to click on title. We're going to come up here and choose delete rows under the tools. Then I'm going to go down and I'm going to pick facts and delete that. I could delete more than one at a time if I wanted to, but it's just as easy to click it multiple times, whatever works for you. You can always hold the Shift key down and click on more than one, and then choose country and notes, and then choose delete rows, and it will delete both of them. Now if we want to rename some fields, we can rename them. Simply click after the word province, and we're going to hit the delete key till we get down to state. And then under zip postal, we're going to get rid of the postal part of it, so it just reads zip. So it's very easy to rename a field once it's already there. I'm going to make it lowercase IP for zip. So let's take a look at some of the other things that we might want to change. So if we want to change a data type, we can change that. All right, so we've got the phone number. They have it listed as a number. Most database designers would tell you that unless it's going to be used in mathematical operation, you should not use the number field. You should use short text because it gives you more flexibility. We're going to make it a length of 14. And that will allow us the room for formatting. Now, we don't need to put a caption in unless we want it to read something other than phone. So if you wanted it to read cell phone or mobile phone or something different than phone, you could then put a caption in. But since our field name isn't multiple words with no spacing or anything like that, we don't absolutely have to have a caption in there. And unless you're changing the field name, You do not want to type something in the caption because it just gives you more room for error and more typing that you have to do. So if you want it to read phone, leave the caption blank because it will default to the field name if, in fact, it is blank. All right, let's take a look at the field address. Address has the default length because since we used the QuickStart to add these address fields, it brought them in at the default length. And for some reason, they put captions in there even though they were not needed. So we're going to delete the caption and we are going to change it to be 35 in length. Then we're going to go down to the city. And we're going to change it to be 25 in length. And we can delete that caption. It's not needed. The state field we are going to change to a length of 2. And again, we do not need a caption. And the zip code, we're going to make it a length of 10 to allow for formatting because we have the first 5 followed by a dash, followed by the 4. And again, we do not need that caption. So that does some of the fixes to get that QuickStart fields the way we need them. Let's go ahead and save the changes so far. And then we're going to do a few changes to make things more consistent with the rest of our database. So for example, we were putting in a description here on the key field, primary key. So we'll go ahead and add that in the description. And we'll add a caption down here that will make it add the spacing. For the last name, all we need to do is add the caption. Notice it already brought the size in from the other database that we imported from. So it's no longer the 255 default because we imported in all of the settings from the other database. We have first name that we're going to add a caption on. On the birth date, we're going to add the caption to read date of birth. So we'll come down here under caption and type in date of birth. The last thing we're going to change is to set it up so that the state will default. If I go down to the state field, I'm going to come over here to this default value and I'm going to say that, you know, maybe our practice is in the center of Georgia. So we're going to put GA. And when you tab out of that field, you'll notice it is going to put that in quotes because it knows that this is a text field. So we put that default in. Now when we add new records, you will not need to type that unless it is different. So let's go ahead and save our table and then I'm going to close it. And then I want to open it back up. Make sure when you open it back up that any fields that you deleted aren't showing up again. Every once in a while I will have Access do that to me where I will open it up and there'll be a field there that I thought I had deleted. So I'll have to go in and delete it again. So again, you want to make sure that the data is in the order that it's presented when you start entering your records into this table, because in a few minutes, in the next segment, we're going to enter a couple of records, and then we're also going to be doing another import. So you want to make sure that the file structure is set up properly before you try to do the import.